What up, fight fans? It's the Iman Report. It is Saturday night, May. Tonight is Saturday night, May 16th. We have an exciting fight card tonight on ESPN. Overeem versus Lewis. Really good fight card tonight. Out of a scale of 1 to 10, I'm giving tonight's fight card a 10. A lot of exciting fights tonight. Great events tonight and great main event. Nice to see Walt Harris back in the octagon. It was a losing effort tonight against Alistair Overeem. He loses by knockout to Walt Harris to Alistair Overeem. Loses by knockout in the second round within 3 minutes. But I think it was more the fact that Walt Harris beat himself more than Alistair Overeem beating Walt Harris. Walt Harris, unfortunately, this was one of those fights where he had really bad fight IQ in the fight. So that was what led. Early in the fight, we thought Harris was going to take out Overeem in round one. Then he just could not. He just could not seal the deal, and Alistair Overeem was able to recover and was able to knock him out just after Harris failed to knock him out. Then he simply got exposed, and Overeem exposed Walt Harris's poor fight IQ in that fight. So that was what ended up being Walt Harris's undoing, was his poor fight IQ. But it was just good to see him back in the octagon after losing his daughter. And I bet Alistair Overeem did not felt good having to knock out Walt Harris. But you know what though? Alistair Overeem wants to go for another title shot, but I think this win was just more the fact that Alistair Overeem had the better fight IQ than the fact that he beat a good fighter. So I do think Alistair Overeem's going to get a move up in competition next. I think a fight that would be good for Alistair Overeem come up next after this win would be maybe rebook a fight that fell through early. I think last year, a couple years ago, that fell through between him and Alexander Drago Volkov. And I think this would be a quick time to rebook that fight between Overeem and Volkov. I think that would be a good headliner for another main event. Certainly, I don't think Overeem's going to fight for another title in his career, but who knows what will happen with Alexander Drago Volkov. I think these two should meet on a fight night card, make it happen. As for Walt Harris, he's going to have to take a bit of a step back. His poor fight IQ definitely showed up in tonight's fight, but he's still a good striker. As for for Walt Harris, maybe he needs to take a little bit of a timeout. Maybe even consider I think maybe for him changing camps might be a really good idea, because he's got a lot of raw talent. He just unfortunately just does not lack. He just lacks the fight IQ, and maybe he needs to go to a different camp where he can learn from an actual teacher and where he can get a better MMA IQ. So for Harris, maybe he takes a bit of a breather from fighting for maybe a few months. And then when he comes back, maybe give him the loser of Blagori Ivanov. Or actually, I think another one that could fit the bill for him might be, I don't know if these two have fought, maybe him and Alexei Olenek might be an option. Olenek's never going to, another elder statesman that's a good, okay, he's beat Alexei Olenek, so strike that one. Maybe you put him up against, I guess maybe the loser of Blagori Ivanov. I think that would. Who is Ivan? I know he's got a fight scheduled somewhere. But for Harris, it's just certainly he's got to get back to the drawing board. He needs to refine it. He needs to refine it, improve his fight IQ. He simply got exposed. Maybe the loser. All right, here's one that might work. Maybe the loser of Shamil Abdurakhimov and Cyril Gagne could be an appropriate step back for Harris. Or here we go. Or this one I think is a better fit. Maybe the loser of Blagoy Ivanov and Augusto Sakai. I think that's a good step down for Walt Harris. Another high fight IQ fighter. So that would. And all right, then the next one, and probably my WTF of the night has been the judges. The judges were not the greatest tonight. I wonder if they got those judges from Texas tonight, because there was quite a few fights tonight where I felt some fighters got robbed, and it was one of those nights where you should not be leaving your fight to the judges, and some fighters came up short. And the first of many is in the co-main event where Claudia Gadelha gets a split decision over Angela Hill. And Gadelha, did she deserve to win? No. I think the fight was maybe a draw. Angela Hill, I had it 2 rounds. I had it a draw at first, and then if I looked again, it looked more like Angela Hill had the second and third rounds, and Claudia Gadelha had the first round. So Angela Hill certainly got robbed on that one. But I think she should get a ranking in a losing effort. She was game in this fight. But as for Claudia Gadelha, give her a fight against Carla Esparza. I think that one certainly makes a lot of sense there. As for Angela Hill, I think she does deserve to be rewarded in a losing effort. She put up a great fight against Gadelha. That one could be fight of the night. That certainly could be fight of the night. And for Angela Hill, I think she deserves to get a ranking in a losing effort. I think her effort was certainly valiant. She should be rewarded in the losing effort. I think she deserves another ranked opponent. And I think a fighter that leaps to my mind for Angela Hill could be Michelle Watterson. Put those two in the octagon. I think that would be a great fight night card right there. Angela Hill has looked much improved in the last year. So I think she definitely deserves to be rewarded for her valiant effort. Give her Michelle Watterson. I think that would make a good fight card right there. In the featherweight event before that, we had Edson Barboza's debut at 145 against Dan Ige. That one could be another fight of the night one right there. That one's really close. I don't think it was a robbery by any means. That was a really close, razor-thin fight. Dan Ige gets the win via split decision. And Ige was exciting tonight. He looked like a top 10, top 15 fighter. And I think he's ready for the big fish in the featherweight division. But where should Dan Ige get next? I think a fighter that would really is maybe Dan Ige a top 10 fighter. That's going to be the next question coming up. And I think the fighter that could welcome him to the top 10 if he can become victorious over the next fighter is give me one Josh Emmett. That would be a barn burner between 50K in Emmett. And that one could give Ige another 50K right there. So I think that would be a good. Give me Emmett versus Ige. That would be a really good fight. As for Edson Barboza, I think he belongs at 145. He looked pretty good tonight in a losing effort. But maybe put him up against Andre Philly next, or Philly, or Rotten, a fight nobody wants to fight. Maybe Ryan Hall. That may not be a bad fight, but Barboza, take another fight at 145. He did not look too terribly bad in a losing effort. Certainly, I don't think he's going to fight for a title anytime soon, but he could still be a good, serviceable gatekeeper at 155 or 145. And Edson Barboza will always give you an exciting fight, and that's what he's there for. So Barboza versus Hall. Nobody wants to fight Ryan Hall. I think that would, and certainly Ryan Hall's a fighter where we need to know what's going to be in his future. So that could be next for him. And in the event before that, Eric Anders versus Krzysztof Jotko. Jotko gets the unanimous decision over Eric Anders. And for Jotko, that is, after losing 3 in a row, he has won his last 3 in a row. And I think this win could get him another top 15 fighter. I think, a fighter that if Jotko can make a quick turnaround here in the next couple months, unfortunately, Uriah Hall got a fight that got canceled on him with him and Jacare, but I think this could be a good time for Uriah Hall to fight. Krzysztof Jotko versus Uriah Hall. Hall certainly, strike that. He's fought Uriah Hall. He's lost to Uriah Hall, so that's not going to work out there. Let me see who else he's I'm glad I caught myself on that, but he's already fought Uriah Hall and lost, so I don't want to see that happen again. Okay, maybe Amari Akhmedov. I think that could be a fight to make. I think Amari's another fighter that's in the top 15. So Amari Akhmedov versus Krzysztof Jotko, that could be a really good fight right there. If Krzysztof Jotko can get back in the top 15, Jotko versus Akhmedov, winner gets a top 10 opponent. That's what I'll go with. As for Eric Anders, tried to wrestle, but still, this is another one of those fighters where the fight IQ is lacking a bit. But you know what? This was one of those that, Anders actually showed some better fight IQ in this fight. So I don't think he needs a big step down. He's looked a lot better. He's starting to show some better fight IQ as of late. But for Eric Anders, he will still always be an exciting fighter, and he's learning. He's trying to learn to grapple, but maybe he bit off more than he could chew with Jotko on that. Maybe a grappler in Zach Cummings. I think that could be make sure haven't fought each other. No, they haven't. Okay, so I think I'm going to go with Eric Anders versus Zach Cummings. That's who I think should be next for Anders. But he didn't look too terribly bad in a losing effort, I will say that. And the first fight on the main card tonight. This one, I think, was a robbery. Song Yadong did not deserve to win. I had Marlon Vera winning all 3 rounds. And I think this one was truly a robbery tonight. Song Yadong did not deserve to win, but he is certainly going to get a top 15 fighter after tonight. And for Song Yadong, I guess Garbrandt's staying at 135, so give Yadong the winner of Rafael Assunção and Cody Garbrandt. Put one of those two against and see what shakes out between those two. That's from Marlon Vera. He didn't deserve to lose. He certainly got robbed, so I don't think he's going to take much of a step down. He looked pretty good in tonight's fight. But I think maybe a small step down, maybe give him Montel Jackson or Merab Dvalishvili. I think that's maybe a small step down. But I do think Vera definitely deserved to win that fight. I think that one was definitely one the judges got wrong. So I think that one was terrible refereeing there. Then we go on to the preliminary card. The first one, the last one on the prelim cards. Miguel Baeza beats Matt Brown by knockout in the second round. Matt Brown certainly nearing retirement here. I think I'm not going to retire him just yet. But as for Matt Baeza, Miguel Baeza, his next fight should be against maybe the winner of Makai Pitolo and Charles Byrd. That's one possibility. I'll just give him that the Pitolo Byrd winner or some other low-level fighter. That's who's next for Baeza. As for who's next for Matt Brown, maybe a retirement fight against Mickey Gall. I think that might be Matt Brown's best chance at retiring victoriously. Mickey Gall's not the greatest fighter. And certainly he's got his mouth is not worth it where his fight IQ is. So Gall versus Brown. And Brown hangs up his gloves after he fights Mickey Gall, so I'm going to go with that. In the fight before that, Kevin Holland beats Anthony Hernandez by knockout. This was probably the best fight in Kevin Holland's MMA career. Holland definitely trying to get into the top 15 in the middleweight. As for who's next for Kevin Holland, after losing to Brendan Allen, he beats Anthony Hernandez. So yeah, next for him should be Mahmoud Muradov. That's next for Kevin Holland. Anthony Hernandez. I think it's likely a debutante for Anthony Hernandez next. Okay, maybe the loser of Patullo and Bird. Charles Bird and Mikhail Patullo, the loser of that. And that's what waits Anthony Hernandez. In the fight before that at featherweight, Giga Chikadze beats Erwin Rivera. What's next for Giga? Definitely a showcase fight for Giga. Maybe just rebook him with Mike Davis. So that might be what's next for him. And then you put Erwin Rivera against a debutante. Nate Landwehr beats Aaron Elkins via unanimous decision. What's next for Landwehr? Hakeem Dawodu sounds like a winner next. So Landwehr versus Dawodu sounds like a winner to me. As for Darren Elkins, no, he's unfortunately for him, that's his fourth loss in a row. So does he retire? Does he get cut? He kind of got robbed, so maybe he gets another chance, maybe against a debutante or another low-level fighter, but I don't know. I don't think there's a lot left for Darren Elkins to prove in the UFC. I think it could be time for him to call it a career or go to Bellator. You know, it's maybe do some soul searching if you're Darren Elkins. In the fight before that at women's flyweight, Courtney Casey submits Mara Romero Barella via submission in her flyweight debut. Casey looked a lot better at flyweight. So she's got her first win at women's 125. So who's next for Courtney Casey? All right, maybe Jae Kim is next for Courtney Casey as she looks to climb her way up the 125 ladder at women's flyweight. As for Mar Romero Barella, I think that's her third. Yeah, that's her third loss in a row. 1-4 in her last 5 fights. I think that's likely going to get her cut. And of course, she was also under investigation by the anti-doping USADA a couple years ago. So, yeah, I think maybe for Barella, it's either maybe for her best option might be to go to Invicta, go get some wins in Invicta, then come back to the UFC. And in the first fight of the Rodrigo Nascimento submits Don'Tale Mize in the first fight of the night. So next fight for him should be against so his next fight should be against all right, maybe he should fight Jeff Hughes next. That's who should be next for Nascimento. As for Don'Tale Mize, I think that's 2 losses in a 0-2, so that's likely adios for Mize. Yeah, okay, he's 0-2 in the UFC. So for Don'Tale Mize, I think that's likely going to be the end of him in the UFC. Next fight for him should be in the regional circuit. Go get some wins. Come back another time and see what you've learned. So that will conclude tonight's Iman Report. You can hit the like button. Please be kind and hit that subscribe button. We'll be back. I think we'll be back May 30th. Tentatively, that's when we don't know, but UFC tentatively is planning an event at the UFC Apex for May 30th. If Las Vegas is not an option, some other options could be Texas. I know Texas may be allowing sports soon, or they could look to have the fight in Arizona. Arizona's reopened for sports again. You've got a couple arenas there. You got the Talking Stick Arena in Phoenix, where they can easily hold UFC events. The Gila River Arena in Glendale, nice arena out in the suburbs for closed door events. So you got those 2 options. There's also the Potato Chip Arena out there in Phoenix. So Arizona could be a possibility if say the Nevada Athletic Commission's not going to allow for UFC fights, or they can continue to hold fights in Florida behind closed doors. or maybe Fight Island will be open by then. But after the last 2 fights, we haven't had any positive tests for COVID, so that's really good news. Other good news is it looks like other sports leagues are getting ready to start up again. So NBA looks like they're starting to get the ball rolling on resuming the season. So that's really good news on that end. So we'll see where the UFC ends up on May 30th. I don't think it's going to be in Las Vegas just yet. Maybe we see UFC at. It's either going to be in Texas or Arizona. That's going to be my 2 guesses. As of right now, I think Texas will be opening up for sports really, really soon too. But thank you, Dana White, for getting sports back on the air. And we've got NASCAR tomorrow, so sports is slowly making a comeback. So the worst of it's almost over. So it's just been nice to have sports back on the air. More sports starting up sooner than later, so got to have faith. But please follow your local stay-at-home orders. Please be safe, stay home. Have a good weekend, have a good week. Have a good Memorial Day. Stay home for Memorial Day if you can. Please. Let's get that curve flat, and that way we can get more sports back. And we can get back with our daily lives, and we can learn to coexist with the virus. So everybody have a good night. Have a good week. Stay blessed. Stay awesome. You are awesome. God bless you guys. Good night.